everyone, I'm Anastasia. I'd like to tell you my story to warn you because it can happen to anyone. My mother knows me very well. I am mistrustful and easily manipulated. That's why she has done her best to prepare me for a relationship with guys. It is personal for her actually, because I was also born due to a mistake that she did when she was young. My mom has never been married or had any serious relationships, but she also does have a special attitude toward men. She often says that all men want from women is sex, and that I should be smart to be able to resist them. But the idea of getting pregnant is the worst for me. Mom once sent me a link to a video with a woman giving birth, which was really horrible. As I understood from that video, labor is always difficult, and you can never know if the process is going to be smooth or accompanied by plenty of complications. Caesarean section scares me to death. If you can't have a baby naturally, a doctor has to open you up to get the baby out. You may think that you can wait with the delivery, but you can't. Babies are like pizza in the oven. They should be taken out when they are ready, and no matter how it happens, you give birth to a child or a doctor cuts it out from your belly. Now, you can see that I am not ready to date guys, and I wasn't at the time the story began. I was so scared that it seemed to me that I could get pregnant even if a guy took my hand. So I tried to avoid guys, and guys saw that and didn't make any attempts to get close to me. I was upset about that though. I even was hysterical a few times when the least attractive girls were asked out, but I wasn't. When my mother noticed that, she decided that she had tried too hard to protect me and began teaching me how to communicate with guys without the risk of getting pregnant. She told me that getting closer to guys before wedding could end up in destroying the girl's honor. That's why I had to keep a distance at all times. But I could, for instance, give my hand to a guy if he wanted to help me go downstairs. I felt better. I started talking to guys, even allowed some of them to take my hand, but no more. As I grew up, relationships were no longer that scary. Besides, I was really curious. I knew that other girls kissed with their boyfriends, so I watched them and waited until their bellies started to grow. But nothing like that happened. I kept following my mother's advice and recommendations and never allowed any guy to touch me. My mom was a great authority for me, and I didn't want to listen to other people, even my close friends. Once, a nice guy asked me for a real date. We had previously talked only at school. I told my mother about it. "Honey, listen," she said. "I know guys very well. Let me give you some advice. If you two walk and suddenly find yourselves near his place, he can remember that he needs to get his keys or something from the house. He will invite you in because it's impolite to leave a girl waiting outside the house. You will agree because a self-respecting girl will not stay alone outside. And when you enter the house, he will kiss you and try to ruin you. So be ready. Slap his face and leave the place feeling proud of yourself." I listened to her, but I wanted to do something different, and I do regret doing that. So we met. We walked and talked, and it was fun. Then somehow we were near his place, and he started acting according to my mom's scenario. He invited me in because he didn't want me to stand alone outside. I followed my mom's advice and agreed. When we were already inside, I felt that he was going to kiss me and destroy my honor by doing this. Instead, I decided that I had to be first to kiss him. And when I did, I slapped his face, just in case. The guy looked puzzled. I understood that I got the effect I wanted, so I left, thinking that he felt guilty for trying to ruin me. When I got home, I told my mother that she was right and that everything had happened in the way she had described. Then I added, "Mom, don't be afraid. When he tried to ruin me, I threw myself on him and ruined him." I felt really happy, but my mother didn't. She was staggered, but then she pressed her hand to her chest and fell down. I was scared, so I called 911. While paramedics were on their way, I tried to help her regain the consciousness. I was asking myself what had gone wrong, what had happened. She was hospitalized with a heart attack. Doctors saved her, but she didn't feel good. She had tachycardia and shortness of breath. Even when she was in bed, it was difficult for her to talk. The doctor said she would be fine in a couple of months, but she needed peace and quiet. So I tried to avoid talking to guys and discussing the night before the heart attack. I stopped hanging out and even talking to guys. I ignored phone calls and messages. I spent all my free time with my mother trying to help her and take good care of her. When she was discharged, I continued to look after her at home. I started to notice that I got tired very quickly. I wanted to sleep all the time and I was nauseous. I couldn't tell my mom about it, so I Googled the symptoms. I was surprised to learn that I had all the signs of being pregnant. How could it be? How could I be pregnant? We had just kissed. Was the kiss so strong that I got pregnant? Is that even possible? So my mother was right, and I should have listened to her. I've made the biggest mistake in my life. Even my mother suffered from it. I had to visit a doctor. I had to understand how it all could have happened. I couldn't believe it was true. But before visiting a doctor, I decided to call the potential father of my baby, who had to share the responsibility with me. I called him and started shouting that he was as much responsible for the baby as I was, and that he would pay alimony. I kept saying that all men were cowards, that they were all afraid of taking responsibility. But he stopped listening and hung up. What a jerk, I thought. I was afraid of the shame and the role of a single mother. My lower abdomen got rounded and was firm, and I vomited all the time. I could no longer postpone the visit to the hospital. I found my baby's potential father and wanted to ask him to go to the doctor with me. I cried at him, "This is your baby. You should go to the hospital with me." But he was angry and shouted back that I was crazy and had to leave him alone. So I pulled myself together and went to the hospital. When the doctor heard about my complaints, he frowned and left the room. A few minutes later, he returned with a fellow specialist. I told them everything in detail, and they examined me carefully. I had an x-ray, and then was referred to room 111. The nameplate on the door said, oncologist. I started sweating, but my throat was dry. I thought to myself, please let this be pregnancy. Please, God, I want to be pregnant. Till the very last moment, I couldn't believe it was happening to me. But the reality was awful. The doctor was very polite and supportive, but each of his words were like a punch to my face. Cancer, stage 4. Metastasis all over my abdomen. I had a month. Everything turned blue and I fainted. All I was able to think about was my mother. How will she live without me? I am the only one she has. When I regained my consciousness and saw the doctor again, he smiled at me and said, "Please, don't worry so much. You still have a chance. You'll have a surgery today, and then we'll try an experimental drug which shows great results in patients like you. We still have little information about it, but you might either have 3 months or 10 years if we try it." It's been 6 months since that scary day. I am okay. The surgery was successful, and now I am on chemo. The prognosis is good. My mother has fully recovered. I've shared this story with you because I want you to value every minute of your life. Don't give up, even in the hardest moments, and don't make stupid mistakes. May you all be healthy. Thank you for your attention, and please subscribe to our channel.
Hi everyone, my name's Patricia. I'm the owner of a flower shop, and I am really fond of collecting and finding unusual flowers. Once, a very interesting guy came to my shop. He said he needed the most extraordinary flower bouquet and that he would pay any sum for it. Flowers are my passion, that's why I took his order as a special challenge. I asked him to return a week later. He agreed. I went to the country to collect flowers. It took me a few days to find interesting buds and stems, and a few more to create the bouquet. Finally, I had it. The most unusual bouquet I or anyone else had ever seen. A week later, that guy came to my shop again for his order. He was incredibly surprised with the beauty of the bouquet composition. He said it was the most mesmerizing bouquet he had ever bought. I was happy to see a customer so satisfied with my work. Then, he said his name was Henry and that he wanted to present his bouquet to me. After that, he asked me for a date. I agreed. He was very handsome and well-mannered, and he loved flowers just as much as I did. The first date also helped me understand that he was a decent person. He took me to the flower gallery that belonged to his father. It was amazing. I saw plenty of flowers I had never seen before. I think that was the moment I fell in love with Henry. But a few days later, I heard him speaking with someone on the phone. He said, "I need more time to make her trust me. Then I'll convince her to sell me her flower shop." I was confused. I couldn't understand why he needed my little shop. I Googled him and found out that he was the owner of a flower delivery company with a large network of stores all over the city. And my shop was at a good place that attracted plenty of customers. By earning my trust, he tried to steal my business. I couldn't let that happen, so I decided to meet him. I told him that I knew everything and that I wouldn't let him destroy my business. He was at a loss for words, but I saw by his face that he hadn't expected that. Then, he said he wanted to explain everything, but it was too much for me and I left. Day after day, he kept trying to talk and apologize to me, but I didn't want to see him. Then, my landlord came and said he wouldn't lease the premise to me any longer. I asked him why, but he didn't reply. I thought that it was Henry's fault. But I was wrong. As it turned out, his father, the real owner of the flower delivery company, made Henry gain my trust. Henry did what he was asked for, but at the same time, he started to like me. Henry said, "I won't let my father do that to you." You'll have your shop back." A few days later, he met me at my place and showed a new lease agreement. He said that I was the new owner of the premises. I was so happy that I forgot to ask how he had done that. Soon I heard from the news that Harry refused to be the heir of his father's business. I couldn't believe he had done that for me. I called him and said that he shouldn't have refused from his inheritance, but he stopped me and said, "If you prepare a new incredible bouquet for me, I will never regret making that decision." This is the beautiful story of me meeting my future husband, Henry, who loves unusual flowers just as much as I do.